Okay, so for this thing today, I have a quad patch and a tri patch. And I tried looking online for different tutorials in regards to the topical outline, number 2, section E, which is editing patch grids and patches, and section D, which is editing Nurbs curves and surfaces. The Nurbs curves and surfaces, I'm going to create like a vase and edit that so I can show that I know how to do that and whatnot. But as for the editing of the patch grids and patches, there wasn't any tutorials that I could find online. There's not very much information on it besides surface tools on the patch grid section of Autodesk, in which they describe how the quad patch and tri patch are created. And that's basically, you go to the create panel, go to geometry, and select whichever one you're using. As for the quad patch, they say that you can model an ear out of it, but they don't give a tutorial on how to do that. As for the tri patch, they don't even have a tutorial on it at all. So for a tri patch, it says that to edit a tri patch, you have to right click the tri patch in stack view and choose editable patch, which collapses, and then it collapses into an editable patch. So basically you just right click on it, convert to. The only problem is it's only mesh, poly, patch, and Nurbs, and you can't edit it straight off of that. So if you go to editable patch, you lose the original thing, and instead you ended up with an editable patch, which I believe it said that you can't animate. On one of these, or maybe it was on one of the other things I was looking at. But that's what I found for the patches and whatnot. And how you'd edit it is, once you convert the thing into an editable patch, you can select the vertices. And this one, of course, has just 4, not 5 if you include the, I think the center has one. No, just 4. Handle, edges, the patch itself, which has 2 different triangles, and you can move them and morph them, and just by moving them, they all have bezier controls. So you can swing it, create other objects, move that, and that's how you would edit those. So that's how you'd edit the tri patch. Going over to the quad patch, it gives you a little bit more freedom, because you have more segments that you can put into the actual object. And when you have segments and whatnot in the object, you can add things like a displacement modifier, where you can, I'm going to put 6 inches on there, and you can displace it, and as you can see, the displacement modifier made it to where parts of my corners went down and bent. That's on the planar one. If I go for the spherical one, it'll dip it in and create almost like a little bowl effect on it. And the cylindrical, it doesn't do anything except for on the top. You can see that it's changed the actual inside of that, but the gizmo itself didn't actually make a visible change, unless you're on the edges of the corner of it, of course. And then, as you can see in the perspective view, the object itself will react to the gizmo of the displacement, which is pretty nice. The other nice thing is when you have more segments, that means you have, when you change that into a editable patch, you can actually have more individual things that you can use to create and whatnot. And the nice thing about the patch is when you click the thing, you don't have to tell it which vertices that go from the top one to the bottom one and what angle to do that. Automatically it'll figure out an angle for whichever one that you lift up or move or form or whatnot. So I can see how you would be able to create an ear or something else out of this. It might have been nicer if I had figured that out earlier before molding my own ear for my dude or whatnot. But like I could probably just quickly do one. Let's see. Oops. So raise those valleys up. And, oops, drop those valleys down. It's not going to let me. So I probably need to have more individual vertices, or what am I trying to say? More segments added into the actual patch in order to make better adjustments to it, I guess, would be the way of saying it. Because once it's converted to an editable patch, you don't have that in your stack anymore, so you can't change your stack and add more down the road if you decided to. So there, some strange mountainous object for editing the patch. As for the Nurbs curves, I'm just going to go ahead and do that in this area too. You'd go to your splines, you change it to Nurbs curves. You can pick either a point curve or a CV curve. So with the point curve, when you click it, it'll automatically start curving it as you click the next node, versus the CV curve where when you click it, if you click the next one, then when you drag down, it'll start the curve at that point, and you can continue your curve, and each time you add it, it'll change the curve all the way throughout your object. So those are two different ways of making curves. Once you've done that, you can go into your modify panel, and then you get this modify panel that pops out. If this panel's not there, you can click these little boxes down here, which is the creation toolbox. And once you have that, you can do things like you can choose to cap the surface. If you had another one, which one? I'm looking for the lathe. So for the lathe one, you can click that and you can create all kinds of interesting shapes and surfaces. And once you create it, you can choose which direction you want it in, whether X, Y, or Z. You can tell it what is the minimum, the center of it, or the maximum, and then that way you can create the different objects you're choosing. So like if I want to create a vase or a vase, then let me select those two to get rid of them. I'd probably choose a CV curve just because I prefer the CV curve, but I could create a vase relatively quickly. And I want it to have a little bit curved of an end. So I do something like that, and I go over to my edit, open up my box, click the lathe, click that, and then I have a vase. And I can tell whether I want it in the center of it to create a different type of shape, in the maximum, or in the minimum. The minimum is the one that I was trying for, so that's the one I'd want. I'm not going for X, I am going for Y. I'm not going for Z. So once I have the Nurb curve created, at that point I can click the surface if I want to do a surface edit, or I can edit the actual CV curve itself by the individual bezels or bezels or whatever. But I can edit it, and it'll automatically change that shape as I edit my little nodes here. And this has just been a kind of short little tutorial thing, or I guess knowledge base thing showing that, hey, yes, I do know how to edit and deform Nurbs curves and whatnot. The other option is once you've done that, to go back on the main surface of the object, you can always convert that to an editable poly mesh or patch. I'd prefer to do the poly. That way I can edit my individual vertices and change the base. So for instance, I could take this, zoom in on my front layer, or on my top, because I created it from top view instead of front view. And I could do a uniform scale on the X and just kind of bring this out a little bit. And then I would grow this. Actually, I don't know if I'd grow this. Normally, I would not do it that way. Normally, I would select a large amount of vertices, not the ones in the middle. And then I would change this to how I wanted it. And I would take that, and my voice is kind of hurting a little bit more than usual, so I'm talking a little bit quieter. I hope it's not too quiet for the video. I want 2 of those. And then I want to expand this out a little bit. And expand it out again. And then for this third one, oh, I got a couple extra vertices. I don't know how I have extra vertices, but I do. Anyway, so I would expand that out a little bit. Expand it out again. Interesting. Those verts are needed. Odd. Odd to say the least. Anyway, let's quickly do this. Now at that point, I can have my vase however I like it. And then, in order to get this facing the proper direction, turn on angle snap, bring it up to 90, and it should be facing the right way. I do zoom in, so of course it's not on the object. Okay. Why is this doing this? Okay. Forget it. I'm going to just zoom this. Hey, that's a little bit more manageable. Okay, now you can see down inside the vase. So that's the deep inside of it. And if I go to the bottom, that's the bottom. And that's how you do a editable poly, and or not an editable poly, but a Nurbs Curves. And that's how you edit that. You can also create other surfaces and edit it directly with points or whatnot. And that's how you do that. So that covers the Nurbs Curves and surfaces and the edit patch grids and patches for the topical outline, part 2, section D and E. So I'm going to go ahead and call that good on this video, and then I'll come back with a different video.